Welcome to the Beyond Divorce Embracing Change podcast. My name is Michael Flores, and I will be your host while we explore the complex journey of divorce with empathy, insight, and practical knowledge. Whether you're contemplating separation, in a divorce, or looking for support post-divorce, our episodes provide expert guidance, stories, and strategies to help you through every step of the process. We are actual therapists, helping clients who sit on our couches every day through their difficulties of divorce. You are not alone. Join us as we delve in and find solutions that give you hope again. We're glad you're here.
This podcast is not intended to replace legal or personal help. This podcast is for informational purposes only.
Welcome back, everybody. We have something a little bit different today. It's going to be myself, Armando, and I've got Jinohn with me today.
Yeah, so no Michael.
No Michael. We decided not this time. We're taking over.
It's our takeover time.
It's our takeover.
Good luck, everybody.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about transitions. So transitioning after visitation, when the kids come back home after visiting the other parent, and just kind of some of the challenges that happen. Jinohn, have you noticed any challenges when you're working with kids about the transitions, or have you heard anything about when they come back after visitation?
Yeah, so I see a lot of younger kids, and so we see a lot of the difficult behaviors, I'll say. Parents will share the difficult behavior after transitions. And so I hear it a lot. For the first 2 days, my kid is dysregulated. They're all over the place. They're tired. They're fussy. That kind of stuff is what I'm kind of hearing.
Yeah, I hear the same thing. And I think it's pretty common. And I think a lot of parents don't know how common it actually is.
Yeah.
Nobody's really talking about it. They just think it's a difficult time when they come back. And, hopefully today, listeners, you hear that it's pretty common. You're not alone. Like, this is something that's pretty normal, pretty common. And it's also misunderstood a lot, because people think that it's something bigger than it might not actually be. It just might be kind of difficulty coming back.
Right.
Think about it this way, listeners. If you had a hard day at work or a hard week and you come back home, aren't you? I'm usually a little irritable if I've had a long week. I need some alone time to decompress and leave me alone.
Yeah. Well, I think sometimes we forget is that kids are little us's. They're little people.
They are little people.
They have the same type of feelings we do. It's just they express it in a different way.
Right.
You're probably not as an adult, throwing a tantrum. Let's hope.
I mean, you never know. It depends on how bad the week is.
I mean, maybe, But the thing is what you need to do in order to decompress and kind of regulate yourself. And that's what you get to do. But kids, they have no idea. They're just kind of thrust into another household and have to kind of find a way to regulate their emotions, whatever they're feeling, leaving from one parent's house, going to the next, and then having to acclimate to the new rules and all that stuff. So I think we're kind of going to that.
And I think that's a good point, that it's not necessarily misbehavior. It's a stress response, right?
Right.
They're acting out, they're acting out, or their emotional response is a response to the stress or the change, right?
Right.
They're telling you that, hey, this is a little stressful, this going back and forth. It can't be helped, but how can we help them with the transitioning of going back and forth? So I guess my question for you, Jinohn, is what are some of the difficulties that kids have said, or some of the things that they run into kind of going back and forth from the house that you've heard of?
I think one of the biggest ones is that things are very different at each parent's house. I've had plenty of kids, when I don't know, I just remember one kiddo in particular. They were writing on my whiteboard, and I was like, what do you need from your parents? And they're just like, things to be the same in both houses,
Right.
And so, because it's just so, think about it. If you're going from high octane, crazy, do whatever you want house to very structured house, what in the world?
What are you doing? The routines are so different. The expectations are so different.
Yeah.
And I think that's what throws kids into a tailspin a little bit. I'm coming from like, I can do whatever I want house, or maybe more lenient.
Fine.
Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more lenient household to maybe a more household that is probably a little bit more structured. It's funny, I was working with a young man where the dad was ex-military, right? And not to stereotype, I'm not, but they tend to be a little bit more structured. The expectations are clear. Kind of the emotional coaching isn't always as ready or available for those kids versus going to mom's house where, their dad would claim that mom would cuddle him a little bit more or so he had a little more of that. And so he really struggled on transition days at both houses, right? Going to dad, like dad would complain and say, well, he's not listening. There's all this misbehavior. And it's like, well, he's changing what his expectations are. And then at mom's house, she's like, he'd be so tired and he just wasn't eating. It's like, well, because he's been on, meeting these expectations. And I think it's really hard when some of those kids have some kind of funky schedules. Have you seen some?
Oh, weird schedules. Like
the 2 at one house, 3 at the other, 2 at the other.
Yeah, like there's not a lot of time to acclimate to the other parent,
to the new expectations, to the new household. And I think that's that's what I would say, listeners, is like, if you're mediating or you're discussing kind of what the transition and the visitation will look like, kind of take that into account a little bit. It can be difficult. And I know it can feel like a jip, like I'm only getting my kids 3 days a week, or I'm only getting my kids every other weekend. But those transitions can be really difficult on those kids. And so and that doesn't dictate that you're not a good parent. Just your time doesn't mean you don't have a good relationship with them.
Yeah, I've read a study, and I'll have to find out what it is and all that jazz, but I did read a study, and there it showed that more time does not equal better quality relationship. I think there's like a threshold, and a lot of people want to say, oh, it has to be 50-50 or I'm not going to have a good relationship with my child. But the study actually showed that there is like a 40-60% split threshold where you can still have a good relationship even if you're only seeing your kid 40% of the time. Which I mean, look, we're going to put it in the
notes.
In the notes.
Yeah, we'll link
so
that.
Don't quote me on like the actual percentage, but I do know that there is a threshold where if it's, if you go over like this certain percentage, it doesn't necessarily equate to a better relationship. And if you are lower than, let's say, 50%, doesn't necessarily equate to a worse relationship.
Right. And so I think that's important to remember. So when you're creating these schedules for these kids, that, the more flip-flop that they get, they struggle with. I had a case where the kids were a little bit older, and they went from kind of 50-50 like every week, and then they went to like a standard. So like it was just first, third, and fifth weekends, and the kids loved it. They were so much happier because they were like, I had to change all the time. I had a different room. And they couldn't take their clothes back and forth. Yeah. And the drive from dad's house to school was longer, so they had to wake up earlier. And so all of those things factor into kids when you have different routines. If I'm used to, look, you change up my wake up time and I have to get up earlier every other week, we're going to struggle a little bit.
Oh God.
But I mean, could you imagine like every other week having to change your wake up time, what your routine is? Like, that stresses me out just thinking about it.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm a proponent for like the expanded standard or standard visitation. Right. However, a lot of times what I have learned from kids is that they feel like they have like a home base, and then they have like, I hate to say like a visitation, right. But because the thing is they have two homes in general. I mean, just they have two homes, but it's just like they feel like they have a base and a foundation, and then they just kind of go to another house, and that kind of helps regulate. I think a little bit. They feel like they have like a place, right. A foundation. But if it's like week on this place, week at this place. It's like they don't really have like a base or a foundation. Or sometimes, I try to help them kind of see like both of them can be their bases, you know, and that's for like older kids more than from younger kids.
It's interesting you said that, because as you were talking, I was thinking about it, and I definitely have had kids where they seem to prefer, and I'm not proponting one way or the other. Don't put me in a box, listeners. Don't do that. Don't write in angry things.
Or do creativity. Or
do. Engagement is engagement. But I have had kids that have said that they like kind of the more every other weekend or a little bit at one parent more than the 50-50, because it was just a strain on them. And I think you can see that strain on kids because you're going to see different behaviors on the kids depending on their age also.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I know I like the little bit more angsty older kids, and Jinohn, you
I do the little kids.
You do the littles.
I do the littles.
So what are some behaviors that parents might notice in the littles as it transitions and when they come back? Like, what are some of those behaviors they might see?
A big one is crying, fits. They could be tired. I'm trying to think of the ones that I have. A lot of it is a lot of crying, you know. I think, and it could be like, oh, I miss my other parent, or I miss them being together, or, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, or just tantrums, angry fits, you know, that kind of thing. Easily frustrated. That kind of stuff is what I kind of see with the littles.
So what's interesting in teenagers, you see something similar. I always used to say that teenagers' behaviors are kind of the same as kindergarten behaviors. They're just not as cute. Not they're cute. None of they're cute when they're happening, but you know, but very similar, like irritability, a lot of isolation. Like they're just gonna go to their room, and you're like, I don't see them for like 4 hours when they get home. And a lot of irritability, a lot of isolation, anger. Not doing chores right away, right? They have a routine like, oh, well, it's Sunday. You're supposed to put your clothes in the wash, and it never gets done. And there's a fight every transition time. So that does happen a lot with teenagers also. You know, and I think it's important to understand that like those behaviors are pretty common.
Yeah.
I had a younger kid. It was one of the cases I had where it was a younger kid, which I do get.
Yeah,
I am starting to get
over to the dark side of younger kids.
And he would cry for like hours after visitation. And mom was like, I don't know what to do, what's going on. And dad was like, it was a good time. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so it was a little contentious. So of course they're pointing fingers at each other like, oh, you're causing it. You're causing this. So what I did was, as I sat down with him and I said, okay, well, what was a good visit? What did that look like? What was a good transition? What do you need? And we really mapped it up on my whiteboard. And what he said was, you know, I just need, if I have like 30 minutes to just be by myself and like cry for like 15 minutes, and I'll only call dad if I have to call dad within the first couple minutes. And then after that, I'll go do something else. Because that was the complaint was, well, he's calling dad all the time now and mom. And so it's on my parenting time. And so we kind of mapped it out. And I told dad, you're not to call him. You're going to let him call you kind of, you know, and it's going to be a quick, we called it the ripping off the Band-Aid. Instead of the long, like, goodbye in front of the house, it was just kind of like, okay, buddy, I'll see you next time. And that really helped him having an idea of what he was expecting and what it was going to look like really helped him.
Yeah. And that reminds me of a few, I see the little, so a few of them that, you know, they're pretty extreme responses to transitions. And this was because the kiddo was, her parent was in a different state. And so that becomes a lot more difficult because it's like, when am I going to see this other parent again? You know, or I'm not going to see this other parent for another month or something like that. And luckily, my kiddo has so much great insight. She is such a smart little kid, but, I kind of mapped it out with her too. What do you need? How is it the best way for you to even get to Texas? You know, even those type of things, like, was it plane ride versus being dropped off, you know?
Oh, wow.
Car ride. Because car rides, you're exhausted. It's X amount of hours in the car, you know, with the parent rather than getting dropped off at the airport and then being sent, you know. And then like when they get to the house, what do they need from, what do they need at the house? What does that parent, I'll say parent B in Texas, what did they need to have ready for you to be able to kind of transition back to, life in Texas and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that is the really, really a good thing for parents to kind of maybe talk to their kids about. What do you need from me when you come back in order to kind of just breathe?
Yeah, to take time or eat.
Look, you ain't gonna talk to a 6-year-old. Depressing.
Hey, little buddy, we're gonna decompress. But really really explaining to them what's going on, because kids don't know. This is new to them.
They don't know.
It's and sometimes it may take a couple times to figure out.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's new to you, it's new to them. We don't know. The possession schedule just changed. So we were doing it one way. Now it's a little bit different. What does that look like? And so I think the more they kind of have concrete and kind of anticipate things is helpful. That's why I used to work in schools for a while. And one of the things is, and especially in elementary school, they'll put the times and say, okay, at this time we're doing English, at this time we're doing specials, at this time is lunch, so that they knew what was happening, right?
Yeah.
So they had structure. So I think that's helpful.
Yeah.
I think to your point, talking about it, and even to the story I was talking about, like the crying, is sometimes when we see those things as parents, we overreact, right? Like we want to respond because my kid is crying, what's going on? Or they're having a hard time sleeping, what happened at that other house? Have you noticed that sometimes those parents on either end take those behaviors and kind of, I don't want to say weaponize, but maybe make it bigger than it needs to be?
Yeah, like add more meaning to what it actually is. It's not my child's just trying to acclimate, regulate to my household, because my household is perfect and amazing, right? It is what it is, and then they're like, oh no, something had to have happened at the other person's house. They had to have gotten yelled at or not fed. I don't know, whatever it is.
But I've heard all of those things, right? Like, oh, they're crying all the time. They're so scared to go to dad's, or they're so scared to go to mom's. Yeah. They're crying for hours before going. They don't want to go, or you know what? They're calling me all the time when they're over there. They miss me so much. And so I don't know what to do, right? And it's normal that, like, they miss you. Like, good on you. That's a sign of a good relationship.
Wonderful. You got a great attachment.
Yeah, that's great. And I think the danger is, especially when you're in a high conflict divorce, or there's high contention, or you're in a modifying custody, and you have a tendency to look for things that may not actually, there may be no there, like you like to say.
No there. And we're like, it's confirmation bias, right? Something bad is happening over there. Boom. My kid is being insane when they're coming back home.
That's why, because of something.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah. And I mean, the kid might come home and be like, my dad yelled at me, or my mom yelled at me, or something like that. Then be like, boom, that's what it is.
See, he's over there, right? Or, oh, he has such a hard time sleeping coming back. And it's like, well, yeah, because he was doing all this other stuff and now he's tired, right? Or he's not tired because of what he got a lot of sleep over there. And I think that's the danger, is not to take it out and make those behaviors mean more than they are.
How, Armando, do parents, or what do you talk to parents about when they come to you with that stuff and you kind of know there's no there? How do you talk to those parents to kind of get them off that train?
So I think, because I work not mostly, but I do work with like older kids, kind of preteens and teens a little bit. The way I do it is I usually talk to the kid. I'm like, hey, talk to me about the transition. Like, what's going on? What's going through your head? And 9 times out of 10, that kid is usually like, it's fine. Like, I don't care. I'm just tired, right? Or like, they don't recognize it, and it's not anything going on.
Right.
It's just a change. They're having what is it called? Restraint collapse. Whenever you're restrained, or you're like, when the kids are at school all day and then they come home and you're like, you don't act that way at school. It's because they've had to restrain themselves. And so whenever you go to a new environment, you're able to kind of like, if you're at home base, you're able to kind of relax a little bit. Or the reverse too. I mean, either way. I've seen it both, when it's, maybe not necessarily the primary parent and they go back to the other parent and they kind of do that. And so I kind of explain I try and do a lot of psychoeducation and just explain what's normal, that it's okay, that it may not be anything, and kind of reassure parents that, look, I'm not hearing anything, and if I do, we'll address it.
Yeah.
So what have you suggested, or what have you done with littles and those parents?
Well, with littles, it's a little bit more difficult. Excuse me. Being that they don't really have, sometimes they're not verbal. They don't have the words for it. Or what they'll say is, I miss mommy, I miss daddy, right? And so, and that to that parent is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I have done is I've had both the parents in session, and I've had both the parents kind of talk about what their time looks like. And I've also talked to the kids about what their time looks like. And they'll give me like, they'll sprinkle in like a few like negative things or something like that, you know? But it's like, but overall, kind of, what's it like? It's like, oh, it's fine, you know? Or I've even talked to the school, you know? Like, there's been parents that have dropped their kids off on, like, let's say a Friday, like they transition on Friday.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And the kid's bawling, you know, bawling. They get into the school, they're perfectly fine, you know?
As somebody who worked in schools, I saw that all the time. All the time.
And so I've had to get the school involved, be like, you need to tell mom or dad what you guys are experiencing when this kiddo gets around their friends and all throughout the day. And then I had, dad kind of explain what that looks like when they pick them up, and kind of, you know, how the week looks. And it's like, you kind of have to give that parent reality a little bit.
Yes.
Rather than kind of what's going on in their mind. Because, I'm not even knocking it, because honestly, if I saw my son crying, like when I drop him off from daycare, my assumption is he's crying all day.
Yeah, what's going on? Right. Oh my God, he's going to have a horrible time.
He's crying he left me and he's bawling his eyes out. He's been crying all day long. He has not stopped. And that's what I think.
Right.
Because I have mom brain.
Well, it's like it's like that cliche, like sleepaway camp thing, like when you drop the kid off at like camp for the summer and they don't want to go and they're homesick, and then like a week later when you go pick them up, they don't want to leave. They're like, no, I'm fine here. Yeah. And you're like, well, what happened? That it's very similar to that. I think too, what's interesting is that parents do, it's that confirmation bias that you spoke to, right? Like they want to make it something bigger. Yeah. I had a kid, again, one of my littles that occasionally I see.
Another little?
I know, it's, there's a couple, but like, and she's young. I mean, I think Jen saw her walk out of my office and Jen was like, you're seeing, and I was like, yeah, no, this kid's little. Yeah. And so one of the things that happened was that, you know, she came in and she said, you know, daddy gets mad because when I call mommy, I cry because I miss mommy. But when I'm with mommy and I call daddy, I don't cry. But that doesn't mean I don't miss him. I do miss him, but I'm talking to him, so I feel better. And so we were talking about it. I was like, well, do you want me to talk to them about it? She goes, yeah. She's like, we'll do it now. And I was like, oh, right now? And she's like, yeah. I was like, okay. So I pulled in the parents and had her explain it. And we kind of had a dialogue about it. And you could see the parents like, oh, because, and this kid was super bright. She was like, well, daddy thinks that mommy's making something happen, and mommy thinks that daddy's telling me not to. And that's really not what's going on. Yeah. So she told them both, and you could see them both being like, oh, huh.
It's reality, right? You got to give them some reality. Like, this is really what's actually happening, not the crap stuff that you're making up in your head.
Well, yeah, because sometimes we do. We run, especially if we're in a disagreement or contention, we're not going to give grace to that other parent. We're not going to see them in the best of light. So we're going to have that confirmation bias and assume kind of the way.
I don't trust you to take care of my kid the way I take care of my kid. So therefore.
Exactly. And
you're probably doing something wrong.
I'm going to say this, listeners, they're not going to take care of the kid the way you do that, because they can't.
They can't.
They can't. They're not you.
Yeah, I got to learn that stuff too.
It's hard. It's hard sometimes.
Look, as a married new mom, I still have to think my husband is not going to take care of my kid like me. And it's fine.
It's fine. And he's not.
He doesn't.
Shout out to
my husband.
Shout out to Jinohn's husband. Friend of the pod, Jinohn's husband. But yeah, I think, so what are some ways to help parents whenever they whenever the kids transition back? What are some tips that we can give them, Jinohn? What do you think?
Well, I think just throughout this podcast, we've kind of talked about like routines. And I mean, and just kind of finding what works, like, taking them to, I was about to say pizza machine. That's in Nebraska. I'm sorry.
Shout out to Pizza Machine.
Amazing pizza machine. Shout out. Like taking them wherever, or something like that. Something that would help the transition. A lot of times, like my littles, they're not going to be able to tell you what's going to help, My 6-year-old's not going to be like, well, when I get home, I need to sit and I need to play my game and I need to watch.
Right.
They're not going to be able to. So you just try stuff, I do this and this works. I did this. It really worked them up, So do that consistently.
Right.
Trying to find things consistent between homes.
I think that's a big one. If you can have expectations and routines on transitions that are the same, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
Not always possible, but when possible, do more of that.
Yeah. Like if transitions are kind of the same, and there's no contention in the transitions either, but transitions are the same. And then just even a few things at each houses are this, like go to bed at the same time, or, we read a book, before bed, and mom does it, dad does it, mom does it, dad does it,
Right.
There's all different kinds of combinations of parents, or grandparents do it,
Right.
Whatever it needs to be, it can be the same or bits of it being the same, so then they don't have to think of all the things that they have to do differently in each house.
They know what to expect.
I have to know what to expect.
I agree. And I think even for parents, transitions are hard, right? Like,
yeah.
And I think making it as easy for you as a parent is so important.
Sometimes they're feeding off of your own anxiety.
A lot of the time they
Right.
are. And so, I mean, think about it. If they're transitioning back on a Sunday, my house, Sundays are busy. I'm doing laundry. We're doing grocery. We're doing meal prep. We're doing whatever, trying to get through the week, or not doing that. And then it's going to bite me in the butt later in the week. But, but that is really difficult. And then you throw in a kid coming back during that time. That is super stressful. So if you can make it as low stress as possible, of like, you know what, we're just going to order pizza and we're going to chill and watch a movie, or we're just going to chill, for the last however many hours of the day. When you come back, that's what we're going to do, because that is ideal for kids and for you, quite frankly. A quick story is I was working with this family, and during the transitions, the stepdad, he kind of got in trouble with the mom, because the stepdad during transitions, it was so chaotic. There was so much because there wasn't routine. They were just kind of fighting, and they were older kids. And there were 3 older kids. And so the 2 oldest ones would fight with the other one, and then mom's trying to intervene and all this other stuff, trying to get everything done.
Yeah.
And stepdad would just disappear. He would go hide out in his room, and she didn't feel like he was helpful because it was just so chaotic.
Yeah.
And he was like, I can't, right?
Yeah.
And so and I've had parents who do the same thing. They're like, I just can't, like, it's too much. But you don't want to dip out either, because that's not helpful.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's one example. This is pretty creative of a dad. Like, there was a tough time. So, like, this kiddo cried when mom dropped her off. And mom was, doing her best to make the drop-offs on Friday very pleasant for the kiddo. She didn't have to ride the bus. Mom dropped her off herself, but she cried and cried and cried. Administration, they would come get the kiddo, walk her into school.
Oh, one of those, yeah.
But the thing is, once she got to school, she was fine. She saw her friends, all that stuff. She was fine. And then what dad did was he signed her up for an after-school program. So then she would be able to be in after-school program, have a good time. He'd pick her up from after-school program. So then, rather than riding the bus and being like in the mom's neighborhood, he'd pick her up right from school.
That is smart. And
then if there was any issues, let's say like, I miss mom, the car ride home would be missing mom and all that stuff. And, and he allowed it to happen. Like, he didn't say, don't cry, you don't miss her, or anything like that. And then he would tell her, just throughout the time that he had her, he would say, if you missed your mom, give me a hug. Or if you want to give me a hug, just give me a hug. And so then it was her to be able to miss her mom freely. But then it also kind of protected dad, a little bit to, not have to, I'm going to say not have to hear it,
No, yeah. It gave, and what's interesting is it gave her the permission to miss mom.
Yeah.
And dad doesn't know what she's hugging me.
Yeah.
Like, that's great.
And it helped with her transitions because then she was like, okay, I can feel my feelings.
Right.
And I wasn't going to be stifled. Yeah.
But I think that's so important because if the kids don't feel like they're allowed to feel their feelings or process their feelings, they keep it closed up and they don't share, and then that's where we're going to run into gatekeeper kids and kids that don't tell everything. And when they inevitably get to 16, 17, 15 and they're not telling you everything, you wonder why.
Yeah.
Because you created the environment for them not to feel safe to tell you stuff.
Just small things like this transition is hard for me. And I have to be able to express that this is hard for me. So
right.
How can I do it?
Right. No, I think that's great. I think, too, one of the big things I always encourage parents, too, is like during transitions, like a snack or something like to eat. Because, look, if I don't eat and I'm dysregulated, I might throw a tantrum, quite frankly. So I need a snack. So I think being able to provide like a quick little snack or something, just, water, a snack, something that the body needs to help regulate a little bit. I'm a big proponent of just basic human
eating.
I am, eat. But I like food. That's why I work, honestly, so I can afford food. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that, anything else, Jinohn? We kind of...
I think we hit a lot of the key points. We want to kind of go over them again. And
yeah, I think one of the things is to know that those behaviors are normal. Right?
Yes.
They're normal even in healthy co-parenting relationships, right? So don't think you're abnormal if the kid is struggling a little bit. That's normal.
Yeah.
Because again, people want to look at that and say, oh, it's so bad. But then when you talk to the kid, you're like, no, they're fine. It's
just a transition.
It's a transition. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just hard. So yeah, I mean, I think that's normal. I think consistency is important. Trying to be consistent with the routines at both houses during the transitions. And I also think, when possible, talk to the other co-parent to see what's going on. I know it's
how did we not harp on that one?
I think because I think that's the one that's really difficult, is you're having to communicate of like, hey, are you seeing these behaviors at the other house? Because sometimes you'd be surprised they're experiencing the exact same behavior. And if they're not, well, what's going on so that that's not being created over there? What can I do? But you need collaboration for that, which again, I think we're big champions for collaboration when possible.
Collaborative conversations.
Yeah, collaborative conversations.
Oh, that's what it is. Collaborative conversations.
You had me guess it.
I thought it was another C in there, but it wasn't.
Collaborative co-parenting conversations?
Okay.
I don't know.
That's fine.
But I don't know. I'm not Michael. Michael's good at coming up with alliteration and taglines. But yeah, consistency, collaboration, and knowing that it's normal.
It's normal.
So yeah, I mean, and listeners, if you have questions, comments, words of amazement, let us know.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for this conversation about why does my kid fall apart after visits?
Yeah. Hopefully this was helpful.
I hope it was helpful.
Yeah. Thank you all. Keep moving forward.
Oh, is that it?
That's the end. That's the end, right? Keep moving forward. That's how he ends it.
Hey, if you're listening right now, I want you to take a deep breath. I know this is hard. Maybe your child is pulling away, saying things that sting, or seems caught in the middle of conflict, and it's leaving you feeling helpless and frustrated. You're not alone, and it's not your fault. That's exactly why I created the Countering Alienation course. It's a practical step-by-step program to help you recognize alienating behaviors, respond in a way that protects your relationship, and rebuild the trust with your child, even when it feels impossible. This is not about fighting your co-parent. It's about keeping your connection strong, staying grounded, and giving your child the stability and love they need. You deserve tools and guidance that you can actually use, and your child deserves the relationship only you can give. Check out the registration link in the show notes. I am offering you a discount for this course. Just type in POD, P-O-D, in the coupon code and enjoy your discount on us. This is the right move. You got this.